Episode 13. Here we are, Global Familia. Welcome to Chatter Dogs. We are so glad that you've joined us. And with us is Owizi and his guest, who he'll introduce to us. But welcome, everyone. And before we get started, just remember to like and subscribe at the bottom here. Just like and subscribe. Very easy. Just push those little buttons and follow us. And let's walk this journey together. So welcome and over to you, Owizi. How's it, bro?
PD, my main man. Always good to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And global nation, let's do global domination. With us today, we've got our homeboy from the hood, Wikus Erasmus.
Oh, hell.
Sorry. I beg your pardon. This Wikus Erasmus,
I say,
spoken
there
like
we
a
go.
true South African.
Champion. Champion.
Vikas, welcome to Chatter Dogs. From what I understand is, if you check back to our last episode, we did quite a one on education with the whole women's theme. But quite interesting today is we've got another very clever, highly qualified person in our midst, Mr. Wikus
Highly
Erasmus,
qualified.
who comes with the post-honorary doctorate in
Sure.
his certified field. So he's going to take us through the ups and downs, the lefts and rights, the roundabouts of how he acquired this, what possessed him to acquire this qualification, or if his parents beat it into him. We don't know, but we're going to find out. Vickers, welcome to the show, and please, I don't know where you want to start, but just lay it on us. No, bless us with this educational foundation that we can try and build upon and replicate of what you've done.
Please, please.
Well, replicate the cure for insomnia if you read my thesis. But thanks, boys. Good to see you guys as well. Now, well, my PhD journey started in when I started working for UJ in 2010. Completed my master's. Obviously, that's something that you need to get done before you do your PhD or your doctorate. And coming from my project management background, I decided I wanted to pursue something in that area. Now, as an academic, that is obviously something that you need to do. All academics are encouraged or required to pursue a PhD or some sort of doctorate degree. And the biggest problem with that was to first of all formulate the problem, and it's a big transition to get past the consulting problem. It's easy to say projects fail because people need more training. That's not what a doctorate is about. A master's degree means you've mastered a field, but a doctorate means that you've added to a field. So it's just not good enough to say people need more training. So essentially, it goes through a lot of permutations. You get assigned a supervisor that has expertise in a particular field. And luckily enough, I had a fantastic mentor or supervisor that was able to take me on for that. And that simply means that you need to then start identifying your problem, get research articles and journal articles out there, start reading them to see what it says about the problem, get the literature review done. After that, you need to decide how you're going to collect the data to answer your research problem or research questions. And that's probably the most exciting part, to actually get the data and then to start looking at the data. You're doing interviews, you're doing questionnaires, you start learning about software and statistical packages, you're picking up more research skills, you're deepening your own old commercial skills. For my project management skills, I learned a lot about what we can, what we should, and what we shouldn't. And it's really just a question of then putting your butt on a chair and start typing and start writing. And unfortunately, that's where I got stuck quite a bit. I was in the privileged position to work in academia, so this was part of my job. We also had a couple of people from industry that started doing their PhD, and those people have immense respect for, and they need to juggle home life, work life, and doing the academic part that doesn't necessarily directly contribute to their professional development at that stage.
Oh, sure.
And eventually, after everything has been edited and you've gone through all of the criticism, that's a additional skill that a PhD student picks up is how to handle criticism and negativity, in the sense that every time you send a draft, it gets reviewed and it's full of red, and you need to go back, you need to fix it, you need to improve it, you need to add to it. So it instills in most PhD candidates this maturity that you can handle this type of criticism, and it builds resilience, most definitely. If you're in academia, criticism is part and parcel of the game. So you need to be able to handle it in any case. And then eventually your thesis or your document, maybe in business sciences where I am, it's about a 300-page document. It needs to be edited, sent to the examiners, and then they need to decide if it's good enough. You don't get a grade. They just tell you pass or no pass. And most of the time, you get feedback that they want you to add this or that, or change this or that, or minor type of things. If you were brilliant, or you chose, or your mentor chose your examiners well, then you don't get much feedback. Sometimes if you messed up, then you might get really significant feedback, and that might mean a resubmission. But luckily, I went the middle of the road there, and eventually in 2020, I got my PhD.
Gee, that's amazing!
Wow,
what a journey! Wow. It sounds like it's such a tedious process, though. Tell me, Wikus, when you had to go through this, I'm just thinking years ago compared to now, with the joys of Google and everything literally at the tip of your fingers. I mean, do you think that you gathered a lot more information by using the latest technology, Google does this, compared to those days? I mean, those guys, back in the day, all the professors and guys with PhD had to go and spend their lives in libraries and do a lot of physical, I'll say physical because it was back and forth, open books, closed books, and everything, research. But I'm sure the process of gathering that data is a lot more easier than it was those days, or not. Did you still have to go into a library and open blow the dust off those covers and those old book covers and look through that text for your information? Or is it completely the way research is gathered these days? How has it changed? I think it'd be quite interesting to know.
No, it's 100% what you said. In the old days, you had to work through physical catalogs, and the librarians would be able to assist you, and they would get articles from other universities or other databases as well. But the advancement of technology in this area for research, it's a double-edged sword. The positives are that you can get your data very quickly from a very wide range of sources. The problem with a very wide range of sources is that you are confronted with this wall of data and previous research, and you have to be very careful about what you select and what you are going to focus on. But it also means that since new knowledge is being added continually and every day, it means that some of your research questions become irrelevant because it's already been answered. For a PhD, you need to add something novel. It doesn't have to be a major, life-changing, world-changing contribution, as long as it adds to the knowledge. And it makes it difficult to find yourself in that area, to place yourself in what type of question am I asking and answering here.
Because if I could just jump more into the private side of this degree, where were you at in the stage of your life? Obviously, fresh out of school, you jumped into university. You signed up for that degree. Probably a year, 2 or 3, you had maybe honors and then the master. Was it all in a succession, or were you did you meet someone special that you settled down with? Maybe were the kids involved, or did you have pretty much a bachelor road to that where you had the time to do your research, crunch your numbers, and whatever the hell else you do? And if you were there any challenges?
It's a very important question, because this is a mammoth undertaking. It's a huge project, and it takes quite a personal toll and on family life as well. I was married before I started my PhD, and we had children during my PhD journey, which was it was a huge challenge, and something that was routinely said to us that PhDs or doing a PhD is quite dangerous. I've heard stories and I've seen some of my fellow PhD candidates that their health deteriorated very badly during the process. Some of them got divorced, and people in those, we're talking about mental health a lot more these days than maybe 10 years ago or even 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's become quite a big topic.
It's something that PhD students sort of, when they come together, they can sort of bounce ideas off one another. But I think a PhD journey is not possible without the full support of your spouse and family. I remember during the last 3 months, it was all hands on deck, and I was working almost full-time nonstop, after hours, before hours, during hours, to get this thing over the line. And I can only say that was only possible with the love and support of my spouse. But it's you're going to need a strong relationship if you are already in one during that period.
He's a champion.
When it comes to children, they're going to need some love and affection and time as well. And your PhD is your other baby, but you just need to keep sight of the fact that you've got real babies as well.
Sure. And maybe if you could now we've discussed the challenges you faced, and those are real big challenges. I take nothing away from them, but on the positive side, looking back now, would you say it was worth it? What were the highlights? Obviously, standing on the stage and then you being kept and all of that. That's obviously a moment no one ever forgets in their life. Were there any other rewards? Maybe financial, your employer rewarding you. Opportunities inside or outside of South Africa. Obviously, looking back, would you say it was worth the blood, sweat, and tears and hell, as Honorary Ryan in our previous episode said that she went through? And that was just to acquire masters.
Yeah,
it was difficult. I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to say it was total hell, because then I probably wouldn't have finished it. But as I alluded to, as an academic, to get advancement, you start off as a lecturer where you need at least a master's degree. To become a senior lecturer, to be promoted, you need a PhD. And then to get into associate professor and then to full professor, you need to start leveraging your research. And on every level, there is a financial reward for it, in the sense that you get into a higher salary band and you get access to more research funds and so on. But that's on the academic side. If you were in the commercial space and a non-academic and you decided to do a PhD, you're going to need to be very sure about why you want to do that PhD. And for that, you need to start identifying, okay, what are the types of skills that I want to focus on that can be done by doing the PhD and the research for it. For an academic to be internationally mobile or to be considered a worthwhile hire, you definitely need to do a PhD. In the commercial world, you don't necessarily have to, but we know many board members that do have PhDs. And unfortunately, this is something that's being abused in the public sector as well. When we've uncovered many fake qualifications and fake PhDs, but of course, to damage to our reputation that did it legitimately. But it is viewed positively. Outside of academia, I just use my doctor prefix in the banks, and if I want a better insurance rate, and if I want a better seat on the airplane, that is where we get. But yeah.
So that does show how much in demand this qualification really is. It really is the cherry on top of the ice, the double chocolate ice cream, so to say. PD, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think kudos to you, because I think it's sorry, Dr. Wikus, don't shoot the messenger here, but no, it's fantastic and really inspiring to see, and I think something you highlighted, which is very important, and something that was raised in episode 11 with Honorary Ryan, is that the support that you get is key to get you through and over the finishing line. If you don't have that support, and you were lucky, your wife was there, she had your back, even your kids, they were there. Everyone put you first just to get you through it. And that's really That's really something, and it's so important. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be having this conversation with you. And yeah, kudos again. It's such a big jump. And my one question is, are you using it are you just banking the fact that you got the PhD now, and I'm talking about in your future endeavors, or are you actually going to continue pursuing, lecturing, education? Is that your forte? Is that what you want out of, your career per se?
No, it's definitely academia is my career path, and for that, I definitely do need the PhD to be considered for any type of role. But it also depends where you do your PhD. If you have a PhD from some sort of overseas online ghostwriting service, there's reputation that goes along with it. And for me, having done it at University of Johannesburg, it's one of the top 400 in the top 4% of universities worldwide, and it is definitely recognized. And I recently did get a position, a senior lecturer position, based on the fact that I did a good PhD, following my move from the University of Johannesburg. So it's if you will need to be mobile as an academic, then it's a no-brainer. You have to. In the commercial space, it depends how far you want to go into the higher echelons of boards, directorships, and those types of things. Not that it always matters, depending on your field of expertise there.
Sure.
Okay, no, that's very, very interesting, and yeah. Sorry, Obizi.
So yes, I think it's not just doing the qualification, but coming from the top university plays an equally important role of the accreditation side of it. That hey, I know that university. It's like Oxford and UCLA and all these other big famous names out there. Harvard, yes, correct. And to know that that's coming out of South Africa, that quality of education, I think that's a big it's a big thing for South Africa, that they can still produce these highly qualified people to go take on these massive roles inside and outside the country.
Yeah, and not just that, Obizi, I think, and Wikus would agree, is that it is important for anyone that's listening is to make sure that wherever if you decide to do a doctorate, master's, or honors, or even degree, the reputation of the university, or the whether it's online or wherever it is, I think plays a very big role for your career as well, in the future, because people will ask, where did you get it from? And to have that being with a reputable institution, I think adds a lot of credibility to you as an individual. What do you say about that, Wikus? Do you agree with that statement?
No, I 100% agree with that. But I think what's even more important is, what do you do with this PhD? There are many types of PhDs that have limited scope in contributing to the economy and society at large. But it is important to realize that very few people in South Africa actually has a degree. And the percentages are very, very low. But what we do realize or see is that in academia is that we need more vocational skills. Actually, it's not that we're dissuading anybody to not do a degree, but get some sort of qualification where you can use and create skills, but then to be able to build in your communities and your local economies, create job opportunities. The problem sometimes with criticism level at PhDs is that these people are sitting in ivory towers and they don't know what's actually happening on the ground, or what to implement, or how to implement change. And sometimes that is fair criticism, but it is we see the change that there's a lot more integration between business and academia, research, and what is being applied. And I think that is the major shift in focus that we've seen in tertiary education, and especially the management or the business sciences faculties.
Yeah, because there needs to be relevancy. You can go study something, but there's no point studying something and it's not relevant in the real world. So there needs to be an important link between the two, because that way, if you're studying something that's relevant, when you go out into the real world and you practice that, it's there's a path. You know what I mean? You don't want to study something to go out there and you hit a dead end, a brick wall, and you're like, now what? There's nothing for me. Do I go back and study something else? Have I wasted my time, my money studying something that doesn't really add value to the economy, to yourself as a financial, financially, etc.? Because it all plays a role, all those variables. So yeah, that does make true. Absolutely.
PD, I think you touched on something important there, Wikus. If I can just quickly get your opinion on the financial costs of this thing. And I know I always jump in about cost, but unfortunately, cost plays a big role in all of our lives with everything we do. You cannot escape it. Are there sort of scholarships, bursaries, or is this straight out of the back pocket, 20-year, 30-year loan type of thing that you're in for to get this qualification?
And once again, I was in the privileged position to be academic, and because it was part of my skill set, the university did a concession, or they do concession for staff qualifications, especially that. There are some bursaries and scholarships for it. Mostly companies might be willing to pay for it if you can motivate it properly. I've got a couple of students that were able to do so. But yes, if it's out of your own pocket, it is quite expensive. The minimum duration for a PhD is 2 years. If you can do it, it's possible to do a PhD in 2 years, but it happens, how can I say, rarely. If you do it full time, it's 2 years, and it can take you up to. You've got a time limit of about. If you're doing it full time, you've got a time limit of 4 years to get it done. And you need to register twice a year, or you need to pay for 2 semesters per year, and it's quite expensive depending on where you're doing it. Could be between 30 to 50,000 rand a semester. Wow, so it is very, very expensive.
All right. Okay.
That's for that reason. It's expensive because there's a lot of support that goes into generating a PhD. You need one-on-one staff contact. There's facilities, there's software. There's buildings, there's office space, so there's quite a bit of support as well, but it is very, very intense for the supervisor to get a PhD through, especially in minimum time.
Sure. Oh, that's very interesting. Now, Wikus, I think you've really opened our eyes, and I always used to think, a doctorate, if you want to go become a vet or a GP or something like that. That's when you start to become a doctor. But I think it's a lot more than that. And the research in that, I think it's very undervalued, because as a layman, one doesn't understand how much research is happening in the background. All these guys studying PhD, adding value. Like you said, it has to be something that's not out there. And to go do that and look for that thing, that missing piece of the puzzle to add to that puzzle, I think it's already a challenge in its own, let alone the actual research that goes behind it. So, thank you. Thanks for that, and thank you for your contribution. I think the academic world appreciates it. We appreciate it, because somewhere down the line, it's really definitely added value to our livelihoods, to everything, to the planet, to humanity, to you name it. You know what I mean? I think that's really important.
I have only one regret in this journey.
Which is what?
If I can share that. My only regret is now that I'm a doctor, I can't say anymore, I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I can take a look. I'm not allowed to say that
anymore. Well said. Because is there any...
No, exactly.
Is there any sort of motivation, as we run out of time here, just to anyone considering this out there? Maybe they're not in academia, but for them, they feel they need to actually do this for whatever reason. Is there any sort of, just briefly, advice or pointers you can tell them so that they don't make unnecessary, as P-Dog likes to say, pay unnecessary school fees and mistakes? What would you just say to anybody considering this, asking the question, do I want to pursue this PhD or not?
It's a long journey, but eventually you're gonna come to the wall when you say, listen, this is a PhD. I don't have the capability to do this. I'm not clever enough. I'm not smart enough. This is just too big. And at that point, you have to realize that if somebody like me can get a PhD, you most certainly can. And that's part of the motivation that I used. There was from some of the stuff that I read, and so I can't believe that some of these guys are actually that they actually got a PhD. But it takes all sorts, and it takes all types of perspectives. But what's going to matter at the end of the day is your grit and determination, and it's possible. It's not impossible. You're not going to be an imposter. It's definitely doable. You need to get your backside on a chair and write.
Wow.
You always need to just start. You just need to start. That's it. We've heard that so many times.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. No, it's been fantastic and very eye-opening. Thank you very much, Wikus. From my side, Owizi, I'm happy. I think we've learned a lot from this episode, as we do in every episode. But Wikus has come here and has taught us a little bit more. And that's what it's about. Every day needs to be a school day, and today is one of those days. So from me, I'm sorted. Thank you very much, Wikus, and thanks again for your contribution and for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Owizi, over to you.
Well, Wikus, I think I've said it before, and I think it needs to be said again that the roots of education are long and bitter, but the fruits thereof are sweet and rewarding, and then you bear testament to that once again, that you've come through this long and difficult road with it. And then as Sharani Ryan said, she was she went through all sorts of things as well, knocking down debtors' doors to people, paying their credit cards and collecting debt. But anyway, it's a road for everyone that's long and hard. But looking back, you see the benefit in it, and that's the sweet joy of it. And we salute you. We thank you for that contribution and what you've done for us. And yeah, what more can I say? But just all the best and keep moving forward. And this is PD, Wikus Erasmus, and Owizi saying peace out. Take it easy. Until the next time.
Cheers. Peace out.